Last week we were shown just how good off-the-grid Donald is at pulling wire as he started to wire up our 12 and 220 volt electrical system. Markiplier Chris started designing and constructing the mechanism for our windscreen wipers, and our prodigal son Rocky is back working on Mirai and is storming along in a bid to complete our overhead storage bins. Our biggest challenge was going down 2 men in 1 week. Resin Man Andre Nell took ill and has ended up in hospital, and Smokin' John had a fall and sprained his ankle. He was also a no-show. Despite the manpower issues, our build is carrying on. This week, Markiplier Chris completes the windscreen wiper mechanism and also fixes a dodgy patch on our roof. He then climbs in and does some caressing to Mirai's rear end. Rocky weaves some magic on our overhead storage door mechanism, and I decide to do a color scheme change. All of this and so much more in episode 89 of A Dream Called Mirai. It is a new week, it is a new day, and it's another quiet week, it looks like, here at East Coast Scratch and Dent. We're still living with our rolling blackouts, and at the moment we are load shedding, and it's a real pain in the butt. What's also a pain in the butt, it looks like our friend Smokin' John is not going to come back. Well, he's still not back. So, which is a great pity. Andre Nell, Resin Man, I must just get a bit of news and I will find out and we will see how he's doing in this insert. And otherwise, we just got to crack on because we have got a bus to convert to an overland motorhome. So let's get to it. Here we are. After almost a month of intense rolling blackouts, with more to come. Silent power tools are our curse, not something we want to see. The only way one can make any progress is to fire up the generators, and with the rising cost of fuel, it is not a cheap option. Inside Mirai, the lack of a dashboard or any semblance of a driver's cabin is causing me sleepless nights. All fiberglass work is on hold. Resin Man Andre Nell's desk sits empty. Today is Monday, and just an update on Resin Man Andre Nell. Brahm tells me he will be coming in tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing the oak and just checking how he is, because very worrying, and we just really hope that he is okay. So hopefully from tomorrow he's back. There is plenty to keep us busy, and with Rocky back on board, we can pop into high range and power on with our build. Rocky has been putting finishing touches to our overhead storage doors, making all the edges nice and round. He then turns his attention to our main cupboard door. There's quite a bit going on behind me. Rocky is busy filling in all the little blemishes on that wood because we're going to cut our doors out of that and it'll be painted, so you want it to be nice and smooth. Inside we have got off-the-grid Donald carrying on with our wiring, and we've got Markiplier Chris who's doing the final installation of our windscreen wiper and the windscreen wiper motor. Markiplier Chris has made progress in his manufacturing a working windscreen wiper mechanism. Everything looks as though it is where it is supposed to be. Time for a test run. Using some pieces of wood as stand-in wiper arms, for the very first time we get to see what our wiper action will look like. And it looks like awesomeness. One big wave. All I want to say is these oaks are clever. That is clever. I mean, that is very clever.
Not touching.
Something else that is clever is our man, off-the-grid Donald's, wiring work inside Mirai. He is busy finalizing the power cables to our microwave, which will run off our 220 volt grid. There is also a 12 volt downlight beneath the microwave for our kitchen work surface. Just across from that is our main light switch panel for all our downlights. Off-the-grid Donald keeps moving between his beloved wiring setups. Back at the microwave, he completes the 220 volt plug installation. Finally, our little microwave has a home. Then Donald made Mirai history, using a 6 volt battery to check our downlights in our bedroom.
So now that was a momentous occasion. As Bram just reminded us, that is the first light, the very first light to work on this bus since we started this build. The first light. And it glowed like a candle lost in the felt.
Donald assured me that when hooked up to our 12-volt Victron inverter, it will be much brighter. Rocky, in the meanwhile, starts banging an overhead door test unit together. I bought a whole lot of yacht fittings for the cupboard catches, and we want to make sure the cupboards seal well with no rattles. So Bram has been fitting a standard foam seal to the test door.
Lekker sound.
It did not take Rocky long to make his final test unit. Everything fits, clicks open and closes as it should.
Never in a million years did I ever think I would get excited about seeing a cupboard door open. Rocky is storming along. He's done a great job at working out the mechanism for our little push button thing and the little gas struts in the doors. So these are going to be really, really lucky when it's all done. Now we just got to sort out the color.
Everything was moving along nicely. The door color must wait. My biggest concern at the moment was Resin Man Andre.
I decided to give Andre Null a call, and he has just been discharged from hospital, and Doug's had a rough time of it, a really rough time. I won't go into any details, but he was not well, but luckily things were caught, and we hopefully he's on the mend. So he did say he was going to come in tomorrow, and I said, listen, rather just make sure you get strong enough whenever you come and don't push things, because getting old is not for sissies.
All we could hope for was that Andre would take time out to get better. But a little bird told me he would be back at work by the middle of the week. Bram called Andre to get instructions regarding the continuation of the mold manufacturing process for our side fairing. The guys have climbed in, and hopefully soon we will have the mold completed and we can start to make the product. Now is a good time to tell you about an amazing phenomenon that happens in our neck of the woods every year around this time. No, not the sardine run, but whale watching. It is worth coming to the south coast for this alone. Mariki and I, along with my daughter, hooked up with whale man John Galloway, who has been taking people out for some 25 years. We headed towards some whales we saw in the distance. As we drew nearer, these gentle giants rewarded our patience with a tail-slapping display that sent booms across the ocean. Then this happened. I am still working on my still photography skills. These pics were by far the best whale stills I have ever taken. I was a happy child as we careered towards the shore and beached successfully.
It is Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. From now on, boom, down towards Friday and the weekend. Apparently our mate Resin Man Andre Null was here earlier this morning, and Bram said not looking good. So he actually has gone back to hospital. So thinking of that. But to get back to our bus here, this little arch that you see at the top here, this whole supporting structure is going to be removed and cut out because there's just too much rust and fraught steel there, and the guys are going to change the whole profile so it'll be a bit more streamlined coming down to the windscreen. So we are going to fly that and build our own little bracket up top there.
Mariah originally had quite a broad forehead. A decision has been made to streamline things a bit, making a more seamless transition from above the windscreen to the top of the roof. Speaking of the roof,
whenever you see a contraption like this on Mariah, you know Chris is up to something. So you go and check. It looks like a Heath Robinson thing, but I tell you right now, whatever it is, it probably works really well. It seems as though there's a bit of an issue on the roof. There's a gap between the roof and the actual support structures. And to sort that out, we've had to pop all the rivets quite far back to past where the aircon's going to go in, and then relay the roof. Got to be done.
it took a few hours to lift the steel, straighten it and seal it. But now our roof over the front of the vehicle is sorted. Markiplier Chris has moved to Mariah's rear, and she does have a wonderful rear. It seems as though the steel maestro has been tasked with looking for all those little things that, if not sorted out, will cause big headaches down the line.
Chris is busy making a sort of a service hatch so that we can still access the nuts and bolts holding the water tank in. Because if we just close it up, I wouldn't be able to access it if we have any issues there. So it will be a removable plate.
Markeplan Chris gets busy adapting and fitting the bracket that will hold our rear light cluster.
Made a change in your lights.
He decides to make the 3 light unit removable to make any future maintenance a little easier. Our big girl's rear end is really looking awesome. Chris now shifts his attention to the all-important front end of our future home on wheels. Near that front end, Rocky is working on the rest of the doors for our storage area.
I've been thinking a bit about the color of the doors to our overhead storage bins, and I'm not sure it should be blue. We got blue walls, we got big blue walls here, we got blue storage things. I think there's too much blue, so we need to break it a bit. So Brahm is going to mix up some paint and we're going to do 3 little tests.
East Coast Scratch and Dent's rear is not as nice as Marai's, but it is really colourful. Colourful because this is where magic happens. This is where you can mix any colour paint that your heart desires. The plan is to go with either just off-white or white with a slight blue hue. So this is what I have to choose from. Either this or this. Then Brahm threw this into the mix. This is different and I like. Possibly a bit lighter so the blue is not so prominent, but it must have a matte finish and not gloss like this sample. Decision made. The guys have also nearly completed gluing the PVC edging over all of the exposed steel frame. Back in our bedroom, the panel containing our power points has also been installed.
When I stand here at the front of the vehicle and I look back inside her, I'm getting a little tingling in the back of my neck and the hairs on my arms stand up. There's this essence is building up and something is happening and it's something wonderful. But I've got to just put a little spanner and a downer to end this all, because I, like many of you, are incredibly grateful at what is going on around us day in and day out. I want to share some shocking and disgusting statistics with you.
Since the war in Ukraine began in February this year, up until the 3rd of July, a period of 5 months, 4,889 Ukrainians lost their lives as a result of the Russian invasion. Now, my dear friends, chew on this. According to figures recently released by our government, over a 3-month period between January and March 2022, 6,083 people were butchered, murdered.
And that is why every time I end these inserts, I say to you guys and to whoever's watching this, look after yourselves and keep safe. Please keep safe.